Welcome to BigRoad and Fleet Complete, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our new customer training webinar. We're really excited that you selected BigRoad and Fleet Complete to be your compliance partners, and we're looking forward to working with you. My name's Alex, and I'm a marketing specialist here at BigRoad. I'm responsible for making sure that customers, like yourself, are educated on both what's happening in the industry and on how we can help you to achieve compliance. Joining me today is Julie. Julie's a member of our in-house customer success team, and she's responsible for guiding you through how to actually use our solutions. At BigRoad, it's really important that we enable our customers to be successful by ensuring that you know how to properly use our products. There's nothing worse than not knowing what to do or experiencing trouble right away. We want you to be comfortable and confident when you're on the road or in the office. Our goal today is to walk you through how to use the BigRoad mobile app and Fleet Complete admin console together so that you can get up and running fast. Before we get started, I'd like to go over the agenda for the session. I'm going to start by explaining how things will work. So this is a live training demo today, and you will have a chance to ask questions. We've broken the session down into a few smaller sections, and we'll be answering your questions at the end of each session. This will help to keep things manageable for you and ensure that you don't have to wait until the end of the entire presentation to get the answers you need. If you do have questions during the presentation, you can enter them into the question box on your GoToWebinar control panel. The question box is located in the lower right-hand side of the window. At the very end of the webinar, we'll open the floor for a final question and answer session, just in case you've got a few more questions you'd like to ask. We've tried to make sure that you have a lot of opportunities to get your questions answered. So I'm going to pass it over to Julie now, and she'll dive right into our live training demo.
Hello everyone, my name is Julie and I'm with the customer success team here at BigRoad, and I'm going to take you through the BigRoad mobile application. Once we go through the application, I take you through a typical day for a driver. I will then show you the administrator side of BigRoad. We just do it this way in case there's any drivers currently listening. They can watch the app demo here and then leave for the administrator side of things. So the first thing, after you have the app downloaded on your device, your drivers will sign into it. Before I go and sign in, I'll just point out this gray box here that I'm moving around right now. This is my test environment. This is a way for me to show you the full system. So you'll see me come over here every now and then to adjust speed and turn on and off my vehicle. But again, this is nothing that your driver sees within the BigRoad application. So the very first screen that your drivers are going to see when they sign in is a list of the current trucks that are added in on the fleet side. The most current truck that they've signed into will always populate at the top of the app here. And for any part-time drivers who don't drive all the time, they can always sign in to unknown or no truck to log their on-duty time, and then when they're ready to go ahead and start driving at any time, they can come back to the screen and select the truck to begin their day. You'll notice there's a D symbol to the right beside most of my trucks here. This is telling me that these trucks, they have been provisioned with a dash link. You can tell here 02958. This truck, that initial connection to dash link hasn't happened, so I'll show you how to complete that initial connection. Your drivers will select the truck. At this point, they should have the dash link plugged into the ECM port. They will be in the truck, and the truck is turned on. They'll go to the menu at the top right corner of the app. In the menu, they're going to go to Settings. From the Settings menu, they're going to select Dash Link. So you can see Dash Link down here. Again, your drivers are in the truck is turned on. They will select Connect to Dashlink. Once they hit Connect to Dashlink, the system will bring up the truck vehicle make, year, model, and it will ask your drivers to confirm the odometer readings. My test environment here, unfortunately, can't display that, so I'm just going to cancel out of this. Your driver will have the option to change it or adjust the odometer reading if it's not correct. From there, they'll hit Connect to Dashlink, and that's the initial connection. So I'm going to go back to the app here and switch my truck. I'm going to sign into a Dashlink truck that's already equipped here. So as you can see, my Julie test truck, the Dashlink connection has already been made. So once I sign in, the system automatically knows to look for a Dashlink. For a second there, you did see an orange bar. Anytime your drivers are not connected to Dashlink, we will always notify them by having an orange warning bar there. Here you can see I've got a solid D sign. I have no warning bar. This is telling me that I've fully connected to the system and I can go ahead and start my day. So the first thing I'm going to do here to start my day is change my duty status to on duty. So if I click on this duty status circle, you'll see I have an option to go off duty, sleeper, on duty, personal conveyance, yard move, or duty status with a note. I'm going to go ahead and go on duty to start my shift. Sorry, it looks like I had signed my log here today, so just bear with me 1 second. I was in a training session earlier. Okay, here we go. So you can see that I am on duty now, and you can see that the clock is counting down from a 10-hour time. So this is how much time I have left within my on-duty daily limit for today. Anytime your drivers change their duty status, their clock will count down to let them know exactly how much time they have left in each status. From here, the next thing I'm going to do is my pre-trip. So I'm going to go to daily logs. At the very bottom of this screen, there's a gray button that says View Logs. I'll go ahead and select today's date. Here's my daily log for today. So I did do some sessions earlier today, so you're going to see a few statuses here on my log. Once I scroll down, you will see Vehicle Inspection Report. So Vehicle Inspection Report, you can see I've completed one today at 11:10 and I did not find any defects. If your drivers need to complete additional inspection reports, they have the option to select New Inspection. So when I select this, it's going to ask me or tell me that I've already signed my inspection today, but I can still go ahead and do a new inspection. Once your drivers select new inspection, they will have to choose a vehicle to inspect. So you'll see the truck that they sign into the app will automatically populate here, but they do have the option throughout the day to inspect any other trailers or any other trucks if they're swapping trucks and trailers throughout the day. I'll select my truck for today. As you can see, a lot of this information populates for your driver, so there's very minimal data entry here for them. Their truck name is pulled over, license plate, a timestamp for when they're doing the pre-trip, their odometer readings have pulled over, and their location. The only thing they need to do here is check off whether or not they found defects. If a defect is found, your driver will select the box, and they will be required to leave a note to specify exactly what that defect is. If they did not find any defects, they can just leave that box unchecked. They can write a note if they wish. From there, they'll go ahead and hit save. So here, now that my inspection report is done, I should be signing my inspection report, but just for when I take you through a roadside inspection, I'm going to leave this blank just so I can demonstrate a violation. Once your pre-trip is in, the next thing you'll need to do is go up to the top of the screen and make sure you're filling out all your driver, vehicle, and fleet information. I'm going to scroll up here. And right here, you'll see all of my driver, vehicle, and fleet information. At any time, I can go in and edit this information. So if I have additional documentation to put in there, I can do that. So I'll go ahead and hit edit. Again, in this screen, a lot of this information will roll over for your drivers. So you can see my driver name has pulled over, my truck, my license, my odometer readings. Scrolling down here, I can type in any additional trailer numbers that I've hauled that day, or I can take them out. If I need to change my duty cycle for that day, so if I'm border crossing, I can go ahead and change my rules or my exemptions for that log for that day. If you select rules, here you'll see you have the option to go ahead and select a duty cycle that you would like your log to be under for that day. And underneath, you can see any exceptions. I have the ability to check them off here as well. Again, this is a day-by-day basis. These exceptions will not roll over into the next day. Recap. As a driver, I have the ability to turn on or off my recap. So what a recap is, it's a summary of your total on-duty hours for the past 8 days. You have the option to turn this off within the app if you'd rather not see it. You can have a summary, or you can have a full preview of your recap. Time zone. If you need to change your time zone, you can do so here. Scrolling down, you'll see that the carrier information automatically populates here for your drivers. If you operate in branches, you can go ahead and put that branch information here, as this carrier information will always populate the main headquarters address. Shipping documents, you'll need to have something in this field here. As a driver, you can see I've just taken that documentation out and now it's showing me a violation. FMCSA ruling does require some kind of information to be written underneath of the shipping document part of the log. That could be a manifest number, that could be a bill of lading number, or if you don't have any shipping documents, it doesn't really apply and not applicable, we'll clear up that violation. FMCSA, although they require some information there, they're not quite specific as to exactly what that information needs to be. At the end here, I can put any notes that I would like attached to my daily log. Once this is all added, I can go ahead and select Done. And I can go back to the main screen of the app and start to drive. So before I go ahead and drive, I just took you guys through going on duty, connecting to the dash link for the very first time, doing a pre-trip, and making sure you have your driver, vehicle, and fleet information on the log. I'll just stop here to see if there's any questions in regards to those topics I just talked about.
All right, so again, if you have any questions, you can write them in the question box in the GoToWebinar control panel. Just taking a look here to see if any have come in. We'll give you a few seconds. All right, looks like no questions, Julie.
Okay, so the next thing that we'll do here is we've finished all of that information. We can go ahead and drive. So over here on my test environment, I'm going to put my truck into motion. As soon as wheels are in motion, the system will put you on the drive line. Speed is not a factor here. It's as soon as the truck is in motion. You can see that my clock has changed here. So it's telling me that I have 7 hours and 53 minutes of my daily of drive time left until I'm required to take that 30-minute break, as I am currently operating under the 70-hour 8-day cycle. To stop, the system does take about 5 minutes to completely stop. As long as the truck is at a full stop, you will have the access to go in and manually change your duty status to take a break. The reason why the system takes 5 minutes is just in case you're stuck in some stop and go traffic. That's basically it. So you can see here, if I manually change my status, I can go off duty, so I can now take that 30-minute break instead of waiting that 5 minutes for the system to put me back to on duty. So now I'm off duty. You can see here it's counting down 30 minutes for my break, so I'm well aware of when I can go ahead and start driving again for my shift. The next thing I'm going to demonstrate here, the next two features actually, will be yard move and personal conveyance. In order for a driver to use yard move and personal conveyance within the app, these need to be turned on through the website. So I'll click my duty status circle here. As long as this is turned on the website, again, your drivers will see this within the app. So here you can see begin personal use. Once I put myself into personal use, you'll see personal on the duty status circle, and then I can go ahead and head home for the end of my shift if I'm an owner-operator. There's no restrictions here for personal conveyance. To end your personal conveyance, you click on that duty status circle, and you can go end personal use. If at any time you'd like to attach a note, you can go ahead and select duty status with a note. Once I end personal use, you can see that personal is gone, and it just brings me back into the app as off duty. The next feature I'll show you is yard move. So you will have the ability to use yard move, of course, if it's turned on the administrator side, in any duty status. So you can use this in off duty, you can use this in sleeper, you can also use yard move on duty. Any duty status that you're in, the yard move will reflect that duty status. So I'll complete my yard move in off duty. To start a yard move, you need to make sure you're in the truck is turned on, and you have a connection. Otherwise, this will not populate in the app here for you. Once you select Start a Yard Move, you'll see this new window will populate, and it tells you you can move a short distance before your duty status will change to driving. So here it's telling me remaining, I have a full 8 kilometers, so this is equivalent to 5 miles. I'm going to put my truck into motion here, and I'm going to go fairly fast here, so bear with me for a yard. I just want to demonstrate that once your drivers have started moving in yard move, we will count down how much distance they have left. If they come close to that 5 miles, they will have to completely stop, and if they need more distance, like another mile or 2, they will need to give the system about 2 to 5 minutes to completely reset to get that full 5 miles or 8 kilometers back again. Once the vehicle is completely stopped, you'll see yard move is complete. As a driver, I will click on this, and then it brings me back into the main screen of the app, and as you can see, that whole time I completed that yard move in an off-duty status. So before we move forward, I will open it up to see if there's any questions about yard move or personal conveyance. How can you use yard move at shippers and receivers? So when you're at a shipper receiver, you're going to be on duty. If you need to pull up to either let a truck in or you need to back in to the dock to pick up your load, you'll select this duty status circle while you're in on duty, and you'll select Start a Yard Move. Once you see this window here, you are free to move as long as it's within that distance. Once your yard move is complete, you hit yard move complete, and it'll show you back on duty status. If the yard move is not complete, so the driver needs additional distance in order to complete their yard move, they'll have to give it 2 to 5 minutes to completely reset to get that full 8 kilometers or 5 miles back into the system. I hope that answers your question here. A yard move, another question here, sorry, why doesn't a yard move need to be completed in on-duty status? It doesn't need to be completed. I'm not sure exactly what the reasoning is behind that, but it does give availability to drivers who, say, are taking their shift reset, they're pulled over at the side of the road in the sleeper berth, and they're being asked to move up by police, or for any instance, it just gives them the freedom to go ahead and do that without it starting to count down their daily limits. As to why it is allowed in certain statuses, I'm not 100% sure. I might have to get back to you on that one. So we have another one here, personal use. What is the time limit or mileage limit, and exactly what is it used for? So there is no time limit. The only difference is if you are a Canadian driver, you're only allowed 75 kilometers to be in personal conveyance. If you are a U.S. driver, there's no limitation to how long or mileage that you can be in personal conveyance. What it's exactly used for, this is to help, for an example, owner-operators heading home or going to work at the beginning or ending of their shift. So if they're bobtailing to work to go ahead and start their shift, they would be able to take advantage of personal conveyance to get to work. They're done their shift for the day, they don't have a load, they're not on duty, they're not on dispatch. They can use personal conveyance to get home at the end of the shift. So personal conveyance is for any drive time that's off duty, it's not on dispatch, you have no load in tow. Drivers will have the option to go into personal conveyance. Okay, so from there we'll dive into the next part of the training session here. So the next part I'm going to take you guys through is a roadside inspection and what it looks like for you or for your drivers. Before we go into a roadside inspection, it is very important that you are aware that drivers do need to have a driver card in the truck with them at all times. What the driver card has on it is information for the driver and for the DOT inspector, information on how to inspect with the BigRoad mobile application and what their next steps are. So to launch inspection mode, you'll select Daily Logs. At the very bottom of the screen, you'll select Inspect Logs. Here, you'll select either 7 days plus today or 14 plus today, depending on which cycle you're running on. And then you'll select Inspect Logs. Here, you'll see some instructions for your driver, so it just tells them to show DOT the driver card and to tap Inspect on Screen and to give their device over to the inspector. So once we hit Inspect on Screen, you'll see here we've actually launched inspection mode. So begin inspection, please give the device to the inspector, continue. So here, some more instructions. Again, we're just legally required to have them on a driver card and in the app. It just explains that the dash link is a compliant AOBRD. So we'll go ahead and select Show Daily Logs. Again, more instructions here. Just tells the inspector how to navigate through the day. So to select the arrows at the top of the screen and then to use their finger to scroll up and down to see the full log details. This is what the inspector will see. So all of this information above, the truck number, odometer readings, distance, this is all the same as what they would see on paper. The inspectors will scroll down. They have access to see that on-duty recap. Again, that's just an hour summary, and you can turn that off at any time within the app. Scrolling down a little further, the inspectors will see the graph. Underneath of the graph, they will see each duty status, how long it was, what time it started, and the location. Scrolling down, I have quite a bit of duty status changes here today. At the bottom, they'll have access to the vehicle inspection reports. So you can see 2 inspection reports that I did today. I didn't find any defects on either one of them. But like I said, when I was doing my inspection report, I didn't sign it just so I could show a violation in inspection mode. So you can see we don't flag the inspector to take a look. Oh, hey, look it, Julie didn't sign her inspection report for this day. We only warn you as a driver, and if you are a driver associated with a fleet, we will show the violations to fleet administrators, and that's it. We do not flag violations for DOT. They still need to go into the system, do their due diligence, and inspect the logs. Scrolling up to the top of the screen here, once they're done with the current day, they can use the arrows at the top of the screen to navigate through the days. And then you'll see once we get to that 8th day, they don't have any option to go back any further. They're only allowed to inspect the 8 days. When the inspection is complete, you'll hit back on the actual device. The inspector will hand the device back to you, and for you to exit out of the inspection mode, you'll just hit back again. Inspection is complete, and then you go ahead and hit done. So I'll open it up for questions, roadside inspection, how we got there, and what it looks like. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in now. So So we do have a few questions here. The first one, let's say you are starting your day and you go on duty with a vehicle inspection but also need to fuel. Can you put that into the notes as well? Most definitely. Once you're done your vehicle inspection, this duty status circle here, at the very bottom you'll see duty status with a note. And here you can write in any notes that you would like tied to that duty status for that time. Another question here, so if a driver was bringing an empty trailer from our yard to 3 hours north, they do not have to start on duty until they load up. That's right, so if they're bobtailing to you to get that trailer, they can go into personal conveyance to get to you. As soon as they're attached, as soon as they're on dispatch, they would need to go on duty. Another question here, do the duty statuses automatically populate? So the only duty status that's really automatic is when you go on duty, which you'll have to manually put yourself to on duty. The only automatic duty statuses would be from on duty to driving and then driving to on duty. Every other duty status change, so brake, sleeper, personal conveyance, those are all manual changes. There's another question here. So going between loads for personal use, so I'm not quite sure like if you mean that they had a load, they dropped it off, and now they're going to their next load. If they're not on dispatch or on duty, they would be able to take advantage of personal conveyance. But if that is still their on-duty time for that day, personal conveyance would not be allowed in this instance. Okay, so from there I'm going to move into editing and what it looks like for a connected driver. So editing will be restricted. Any drive time that is automatically recorded, you will not have the access to go in and edit that. You will have access to edit any on-duty or off-duty segments that were created that day. Any drive time will be completely blocked, so let me demonstrate that here for you. So if you sign into daily logs, at the very bottom of the screen, you'll see that gray button, View Log. So you'll see this is a path that we take quite a bit within the mobile application. Here you have the ability to select the days that you'd like to go in and edit. So I'll go in and edit Thursday, November 9th. You'll see I have access to go ahead and edit all of my driver vehicle fleet information here. So if I need to add in additional trailer numbers or if I need additional shipping documents, I can edit that in at any time. Scrolling down here, let's just go right to the duty statuses. So 9:44 this morning, I have 29 minutes recorded in the sleeper. Let's say I accidentally hit sleeper, this should really be on duty time. So if I click this duty status, it'll highlight blue, and then there's a gray button that says edit. Click on the edit button, and here you'll see on the graph, you may not be able to see this, it is fairly small, but the area that I am editing will highlight blue. And then I can use the arrows to change the time, and this will go by 15-minute increments. If I need to make that time right down to the minute, if I click on the actual time here, you'll see this clock will populate here. This is where I'll have to go in minute by minute. Status, I have the option to change it to any on-duty, off-duty status here. I do not have the option to put this into driving or personal conveyance, as you can see here. So I can go ahead and say, well, that time was actually on duty. I can write in any notes that may go along with that edit. And then at the bottom of the screen, I'll select Save. You'll see immediately that change has been applied to the log. If I try to edit a driving segment, so here, this is 1 minute of driving at 10:13 this morning that I've done with my dash link. you'll see there's no option for me to change the time here. The only option I have is to change this into off-duty personal conveyance. So it'd still be on the log as driving, it's just either on-duty driving or off-duty driving. And of course, you can enter in any notes alongside that duty status here as well. When you're done editing, or when you're done your day, you will have to sign your log. So once you sign your log, as a driver, you will only have 24 hours after signing to make any changes to the on-duty, off-duty segments that you've recorded for that day. After that 24-hour period has passed, it'll be up to any safety managers on the administrator side to go in and make any log changes. At the end of your day, in this screen here, you can sign your daily log, but remember earlier I didn't sign my vehicle inspection report. So you can see I have 2 inspection reports here that need signatures as well. So if you're doing a post-trip for the end of your day, because really you need to be signing your pre-trip report in order to be in compliance. If you do a post-trip, it's the end of your day, there's this gray sign all button down at the bottom of the screen. This will sign both your post-trip and your daily log for that day. So once you hit sign all, it'll say you are signing today's log before the end of day and while you're still on duty. So here is an example. I tried to sign my log, but I left my duty status on duty. I should go ahead and change that. So the system will always warn you if you're doing something that seems out of the ordinary. So if I cancel this, I can go back to the main screen of the app, and you'll get the same kind of notification. If you're signing off and there's violations for that day, we will notify you saying, would you like to clear these violations up? If so, you say yes, and we'll bring you to exactly where you need to go in and fix the violations for that day. So to end my day, I'll go off duty. I'll go into daily logs. I'll go into view logs. I'll select today's date. At the very bottom of the screen, I'm looking for that sign all button again. Sign all. And here you'll get a notice that the driver log can only be edited by the driver for 24 hours after signing. You'll see that every time you sign your daily log, you'll hit continue, sign all, and here you'll see my signature applied to the pre-trips that I did today. And then if I just scroll up a little bit here, you'll see that my signature is now applied to my daily log. The last thing I'll show you here is the messages button. So messages, once you click on this, you have 3 options here. One would be a new chat, so you can chat back and forth with any administrators within your fleet, or if they allow driver-to-driver messaging, you can chat with other drivers here as well. When you send a message, please note any messages sent back and forth between the BigRoad system. There's no way to actually delete them. They'll just stay stored in the app forever, and they will be stored on the administrator portal forever as well. We do have the option to voice to text here, so you can voice in a message to anybody that you'd like within your fleet and hit send. The next option here that you can do is check in. So checking in, this will populate a map with a pinpoint of your location, and then it'll also have a timestamp with it as well. You see I have that voice to text again, so I can leave in any notes. So if I'm being held up due to a traffic jam on the highway, I can always check in with a dispatch, or really anybody that I wanted to. I can add in an email here and send that check-in over their way. The last thing that you can do here in the messages screen is documents. This is where you as a driver can send in any fuel receipts, for instance, any images that you need to send over to the administration side. You can do that here. So you can select the camera here, and this will access the camera within your device, so you can go ahead and take a picture of that fuel receipt or any other image that you need to. Gallery, you can choose a picture that's already been taken within your device. You can leave any notes here. Again, we have that voice to text here. Once you hit send to dispatch, that image will upload on your trip sheet information on the administrator side. And then you can access that at any time. You can save it to a computer, you can print it off, or you can just leave it tied to the trip sheet. So I'm going to go back to the questions here to see if there's any questions about editing daily logs or ending your day. We have a question here. We are a car hauling company. Have to drive a couple hours to our first stop to pick up the vehicles to put on the trailer. Can that still count as personal conveyance if they have an empty trailer on? If they have an empty trailer on, they still would not be able to use the personal conveyance feature because they do have a trailer hooked up. So I believe no, in this instance, they have a trailer, they will not be able to use on duty. You can only use personal conveyance if you're off duty, you don't have a load in tow, and you're not being dispatched. Can either driver or admin delete messages? There's no way to delete messages that are sent back and forth within the BigRoad system. We store them on the website forever. We also store them in the app forever. So no, there's no way to delete those messages. If a driver put in 11-hour drive time and 3-hour on-duty time, total 14 hours, if he then had 2 hours to get home, could he drive home under personal conveyance? Absolutely, as long as he's not on dispatch, doesn't have a load, doesn't have a trailer, is not on duty, he can absolutely drive home for 2 hours in personal conveyance, assuming you're in the States. If you're in Canada, you only have the 75 kilometers. If there's a trailer tied to the truck, personal conveyance would not be an option. So the last thing I'll show you here, for any drivers who are traveling between the states, you will have to manually change your border or your duty cycle at the border. So to do that, you'll select daily logs. And right here you'll see my cycle. I'm under the US 70-hour 8-day. I have the option to go in and change my duty cycle here. So I'll just take you through that one last time. If you're a border crossing driver, you'll go into daily logs, rules, and change your duty cycle here. A lot of times when drivers are border crossing, they do like to use that duty status with a note just to say border crossing. It's completely up to you if you'd like to do that. The last thing I'll take you guys through here are the best practices with the BigRoad mobile application. When you are driving, it is very important that you have the BigRoad app on the main screen of the device at all times. You cannot have another app running on top of it. You cannot have it minimized. It needs to be on the main screen at all times to communicate with the system. If you are pulled over or on duty or waiting to get loaded, by all means you can use other apps. It's just strictly when you're driving, it needs to be on the main screen of the app. Another best practice is that you have to have your device plugged into a charge at all times. Turning on Bluetooth and the location services within the settings of your device is imperative. So whether you're using a phone or a tablet, just go into the settings, make sure you have Bluetooth turned on, make sure you have GPS turned on. Lastly, we recommend that you have a data plan. The system does work with Wi-Fi connectivity, however, data plans would be a more reliable system. So that sums up the driver app. So again, I will reach out to see if there are any final questions before we go ahead into the administrator portal of the system. Another question here, what if the trailer has to be repaired? Can that be used for personal use? No, because they'll still be hauling that trailer, so they will still be considered as on duty. They can't have anything attached whatsoever. Do we have to change anything from state to state, say New York to Pennsylvania? State to state border crossing, you don't have to change anything there. Even if the time zone's changing, really your drivers need to be logging under the home time zone regardless. So no, there won't be any changes with state to state border crossing. If the trailer is owned by the owner operator, I would still have to go ahead and say no. You know, let me follow up with you though. There could be some guidance for that. I may have to take a look into that and get back to you, but as far as I'm aware, no dispatch, no trailer, it's okay for personal conveyance. So let me follow up with you if that trailer is owned by the owner operator. My gut is to say that no, it will not be allowed, but again, let me follow up with you on that one. Great question. How much data does the app consume on average? So it's very minimal. The app uses anywhere from 300 to 500 megabytes per month. This map here on the main screen, as long as you have this completely zoomed out, it'll keep your data usage to a minimal. If your drivers have this zoomed in, this is Google Maps, it will indeed use more data this way. So just have this completely zoomed out, and you'll be anywhere between the 300 and 500 megs per month. This is a really great question as well. So if we are using an iPhone as the recording device, it cannot be used as a phone while in use. That's a great question. So when your drivers are driving, they're using that device to connect to the system. When a phone call comes in, as long as it's a newer phone, which if it's an iPhone, I'm sure it would be okay, the Bluetooth strength will be strong enough to handle that phone call and the dash link. So when your drivers are driving, as long as they have a newer phone, if they're using an older phone, it will not work. They won't be able to run to the phone and the Bluetooth connection to the dash link. But all newer phones, it will be seamless for them. They can go ahead and pick up that phone. If they have it on a headset or they're just using a speaker, it will work okay. Okay, a lot of great questions here. So from this, we'll dive right into the administrator side of BigRoad. Sorry, wrong screen. Okay. So there may be some of you out there that have a different look to the BigRoad system. So I am demonstrating what it looks like for Fleet Complete customers during this webinar. Once I fully launch BigRoad, you will see that the system is very similar. There are just a few differences here, specifically inviting drivers and adding trucks. So here's the Fleet Complete desktop here. Any users or assets that you have in your fleet, they all need to be added in through the Fleet Complete desktop in order for them to roll over into BigRoad. So to add in any drivers, you'll select System, you'll go into Configuration, and over to the right, you'll select Fleet Configuration. In this next screen, you'll need to make sure that you have resources highlighted in the bottom left corner, and then resources highlighted at the top as well. Here you can see a list of all the current resources added in my BigRoad fleet. Once you select Add here, a new window will populate, and in this window I just need to put in my driver's first and last name. I'll keep the type as resources, and then I'll enter in their email. Once I enter in my driver's email, the 3 dots to the right of that email address, click on that and make sure that you turn on BigRoad here. Once you have BigRoad checked off here, that driver within a few seconds will roll over into the BigRoad system. I'm just going to close out of here. From there, to launch your BigRoad system, you'll select the fleet, select the arrow, and down at the bottom here you'll see BigRoad. Once you click on BigRoad, it'll open up that access here for you. So here's the hours of service administrator portal. After you invited your drivers and your assets are in the Fleet Complete desktop, the first thing you'll want to do here is configure your fleet settings. So you'll see under the Fleet tab here, I have settings. Over to the right, I have a gray button that says Edit. In this next screen, you'll see a profile here. So this address that's populated here, this is the address that's going to populate in the app for your drivers. If you manage in branches, you did see in the mobile application there is a spot for your drivers to put the home terminal, as this main headquarters will populate in the app. Here you can change your time zone as well. The hours of service rule defaults. So the duty cycle will automatically default to US 70-hour 8-day. If this is not your duty cycle, select this arrow down here to select the duty cycle from the list. Your vehicle type will always populate or default to property carrying. If you're passenger carrying, you can go ahead and select passenger carrying. Any exceptions that may apply to your fleet, sorry about that, you would check them off here. So for instance, if you are eligible for the 16-hour big day exemption, once you check this exemption off here on the administrator side, it will populate in the app for your drivers. If they need to take advantage of that 16-hour big day in the app, they can do so without taking any additional steps. If none of these exemptions apply to your fleet, you'll just simply bypass them. Scrolling down here, we'll talk about data retention. So this is us asking you how long you would like us to keep your location information that the system gathers. Automatically, this will default to forever, but you can change this. Some fleets do prefer to put this to 180 days or 190 days, but I'll just let you know, by selecting this option, this is only referring to the location information that the system gathers, which we put on your trip sheet. This is not referring to daily logs. This is referring to trip sheet information strictly. So again, that defaults to forever. You can change that at any time. Personal conveyance, this is where you'll turn this on so your drivers will have access to this within the app. If you don't have this turned on, there will not be any option for them to go into the personal conveyance feature. Fleet messaging, it is up to you as an administrator to decide whether or not you would want drivers to chat with other drivers. You can turn this off, and then drivers will only have the option to reach out to any administrators through the messaging portal. Any messages that are sent back and forth, you can find them here. So if I click on this arrow, it'll expand my messages here. I do have the ability to create a new message. I have the ability to message all of the drivers within my fleet, or if I manage my fleet in groups, I can message all dispatchers, all drivers, or the groups that we have already created. If you scroll down, you have the option to message each driver individually. Again, all messages will populate here for you to see. You do not have access to delete them. If you want to get rid of the messages filter here, you can just narrow it down by clicking on that triangle. Once your fleet settings are all set up, you'll go ahead and hit Update Fleet. I'm just going to cancel out of mine. The next part I'm going to take you through is this blue hyperlink menu here over to the left. So you'll see Users. Once you click on the users list, this will show you a list of all of the active users within your fleet. You can see that users have roles, different roles assigned to them. So admin role, this allows this user to edit all of the fleet settings that I just took you through. They also have full view access of the system, and they're the only ones that can change the fleet settings. Dispatcher only has view access, and they do not have the ability to make changes to any logs or the fleet settings. Driver, it's pretty straightforward. This is a driver for your fleet. They don't have access to view anything except for their daily logs. Safety Manager. Safety Manager is the only one within the BigRoad system that can make changes to the driver's daily logs. Both the admin, dispatcher, and the driver roles need to be given through the Fleet Complete desktop. For any safety managers, you would have to give them that access through BigRoad. So if I pick on Jason here, over to the right, there's a blue hyperlink that says Edit. This is where I can give Jason Safety Manager access, so he has access to go ahead and edit the driver logs within our fleet. You'll see here that I also have the option to change Jason's duty cycles or any exceptions, so you can change this driver by driver as well, as you may have a few drivers that are eligible for certain exceptions and some that are not. And then you'll hit Save, and then you'll see that now Jason has Safety Manager access. Removed. This will show you a list of all of the drivers who are removed from your fleet. That way you'll always have access to their logs from the day they joined the fleet until the day that they were removed from the fleet. Trucks. This will be a list of all of the active trucks within your fleet. Again, all assets are added in through the Fleet Complete desktop. And then groups. If you'll manage your fleet in groups, you have the ability to create a group here. So if you go Add Group, you can name the group whatever you'd like. Add in any admins or dispatchers, safety managers that you'd like to have access to that group, and then select the drivers as well. Then you can hit Save. The groups function will really help you out with the dashboard, the drivers tab, and the trucks tab. So I'm just going to demonstrate on the drivers tab here. You'll see I have Show Group option, and here I can select which group I'd like to see. So right now, All is showing all of the drivers that are currently under my fleet. If I'd like to break it down, I can select any group at any time, and it'll show me the drivers that are added in this group. So this is a bad example because this group is empty, but if there was 1 to 2 drivers here, it would just show me 1 or 2 drivers. So that's the fleet tab, inviting drivers into the BigRoad system, seeing user lists and truck lists. I will open it up for some questions here before we move into the dashboard. What a great question here. Are there any tutorial videos that can be shown to drivers? Absolutely. We have videos on YouTube, so we have broken them down. So there's driver videos, there's also admin videos as well. And we do have full mobile app demos as well that we can forward to you so you can use it for driver training or for your safety meetings. Okay, so we'll move ahead here and we'll jump into the dashboard. So the dashboard will show you how many drivers within your fleet are at risk and how many of their daily logs are at risk. So here you can see I've got 2 drivers at risk and 3 drivers that are safe within my fleet. For daily logs, I have 5 daily logs at risk within my fleet and 42 of those logs are safe. Over to the side, you'll see drivers with violations. So this will just give you a quick summary as to what your violations are looking like. So here you can see 0 with driving without available time. That's telling me that I don't have any logs that have gone over their daily limits or their cycle limits. I have 2 with form and manner errors. Form and manner errors are referring to the driver vehicle fleet information in the app. So if your driver hasn't entered in shipping documents where I showed you that violation on the app, that would be a form and manner error. If odometer readings for some reason didn't pull over, which really they always will, that would be a violation as well. Missing signature, so you can see I've got 1 here that's missing a signature. It's pretty straightforward. As you start rolling this system out to your drivers, you will see some drivers are missing. This is just telling you that, yes, you did invite that driver into the fleet, but they haven't signed into the mobile application just yet, so we don't have any data for them. You can dismiss this warning at any time. This is what your dashboard will look like. You'll see a list of your drivers. You'll see the driver who's more at risk. They'll always show up at the top here for you. You'll see their current duty status, so you can see that Marcia is driving. I can see that Marcia has 1 daily log at risk and Alex has 4. And then we'll break down again what those violations are. So driving without available time, again referring to their drive and shift limits for the day and if they've gone over their cycle time. Form and manner, again, referring to that shipping documentation. If that's not added on the log, that would be a form and manner error. And then lastly, missing signature, straightforward, they haven't signed their log. If I click on Alex here, it'll show you a breakdown of the past 8 days for your drivers. So here I can see November 2nd, November 6th, the 8th, and the 9th, Alex has violations. We will show you the date that the violations are on and what those violations are. So we'll give you a brief description. So I can say, hey Alex, on the 2nd, please go and finish filling out your log details for that day. He's got form and manner errors. Monday, November 6th, he needs to sign his log, and he has 3 violations. So if you'd like to see specifically what those violations are, click on that date, and we will show you, as well as the driver, exactly where to look. So if I scroll down, you can see here a violation because he has not signed his log. And then you can see his other 3 violations. Looks like his location didn't pull over for him. So again, we will show you exactly where to look to help your driver fix up those violations. So back to the dashboard here. This will give you a summary of basically what your fleet is looking like for violations, how to see the violations, and how to go to the day to clear up those violations. The next tab I'll take you into is the Drivers tab. You'll see a map here, and it'll show you exactly where your drivers are. So you can see I can pull this map over. I can also zoom in and out using the plus or minus signs down at the right corner. As you start rolling this out to your drivers, you will see other colors populate on the map. So here you can see we have a few drivers in gray. That's telling me that these drivers are off duty, not driving. I can see that Marcia is here in green. So this is telling me that she's on duty driving. And then if you see any drivers in yellow, just telling you that they're on duty but they're not driving. Scrolling down, you'll see a driver list. You'll see the current truck that they're signed into, their current duty status, their last contact and last position with the system. So this is based off of GPS. The last contact and last position is telling you the last time that the server has seen any information from your driver's device. Sometimes the last contact can be in the past. As you can see, Alex, we haven't seen anything from him since November 3rd at 12:06 p.m. That's telling me that, you know, Alex probably signed off, went off duty. That's the last time when he signed out of the app. That's the last time we saw any information for him. Another time that last contact could be in the past, if your drivers are driving through dead zones, their logs won't update in real time because there's no signal. That's another instance of why it could be in the past. And then over to the right, we will break down what's left in their drive and shift time for the day and what's left in their cycle time here as well. If you select a driver, I'll pick on Marcia here. It brings you into what we call a driver hub. You can see the email address that your driver is logging with, the last truck that they were signed into. Again, we reference that last contact here for you as well. So I can see we haven't seen anything from Marcia's device since 11:02 a.m. this morning. Over to the right, you'll see the time zones and duty cycles. So, you know, if your driver-to-driver basis, if this is changed, you'll always be able to see their current duty cycle and time zone here, and their current duty status. So it's showing Marcia is driving. And then we break down what's available in their drive and shift time for the day and the cycle time. Scrolling down, you'll see trip sheet information, daily logs, and vehicle inspection report. So this is a really great example for that last contact. As I mentioned up here, we haven't seen anything from Marcia's device since 11:02 a.m., but her current duty status is driving. So when she lost signal at 11:02 a.m., the system will just, that last duty status that they're in when they lost signal will just show on the website for you. Scrolling down, this trip sheet will always show you an approximate route that your driver has taken that day. I can tell because of this dotted line right here that Marcia's driving through a dead zone. Anytime you see a dotted line on the trip sheet information, just consider that a dead zone. There's no signal. Her logs will update as soon as they make a connection again. If you see a solid blue line here, this is telling you that there was great connection. Logs should be updating in real time. Really nothing wrong with the way they were coming over onto the server. But again, that last contact's in the past, and I have a dotted line here just telling me she's just in a dead zone. The trip sheet information will always populate an address once your driver is stopped for more than 5 minutes. Their stops along with that address and how long that stop was will always populate here on the trip sheet information as well. We'll go right into the daily logs from there. So let me just find a daily log for Marcia. Just for training purposes, she was just driving for another fleet. I know there's one here. Here we go. So we went back to Friday, October 27th here. This is what a daily log will look like for you on the administrator side of BigRoad. So you'll see the date, the truck your driver was signed into, any trailer numbers that they added in, carrier information, odometer readings, distance, shipping documentation. You see all of that information here. I also can see that her log has already been edited for this day, and the way I can tell that is because she's got a View Original box here. So if I hit View Original, you'll see what the log looked like originally for that day. Our training team just probably went in and did some edits just to demonstrate how to make edits for another customer. But here you can see you know, Marcia is connected to a Dashlink truck, so AOBRD truck with the Dashlink symbol. I'll hit done here to go back to the edited part of this log. As a safety administrator, you will have access to go in and make edits to the log. So again, only safety managers can make the edits, and 2 other criteria need to be met as well. One, the driver needs to have a connection to the Dashlink, and 2, at the end of their day, they need to sign that log. If the driver has not signed that log, you will not have any way to go in and make changes to that log. It has to be the end of their day before you can go ahead and do that. To make changes to a driver's log, once they've signed off for the end of the day, you'll see Edit Log. In this next screen, you have access to go ahead and make changes to basically anything that you need to on the daily log. Scrolling down, you'll see the driver's recap here. As a safety manager, you can turn this recap off for if you'd rather not see it, or you can have the summary as well. You'll see the driver's graph. Below the graph, you'll see each duty status, how long it was, what time it started, and the location. You'll see that there's a blue hyperlink that says Edit over to the right. So I'll go ahead and select Edit. And very similar to the same way that you edit within the app, you'll see that we highlight the portion blue just so you know exactly what you're editing. And then you can use the arrows to change the time by 15-minute increments. So I can go ahead and say, Marcia actually started her on-duty time at 2:15 p.m. Go ahead and hit Save. In this next screen, you will have to select Confirm Changes. Once you hit Confirm Changes, you will need to give a reason as to why you made the change for that day. So you can go ahead and type in your reason here, and then you'll hit Confirm Changes again, and then it'll update on the log. So I'm just going to discard out of that. The last thing we'll show you here underneath of the driver hub is the vehicle inspection report. So I'm just bear with me here. I know Marcia has one for October 12th here, just so I can reference. So here we can see that Marcia inspected MEX 390 at 7:44 a.m. in Stratford, Ontario, and she did not find any defects. This is what the inspection report will look like for you as admin. If your drivers wrote in any notes, you'll see the notes right above their signature here. Marcia didn't write any notes. She just noted no defects. She signed her log for the day. You will have the ability to go ahead and print inspections here. If there's a major defect, you could go ahead and print that inspection report off and hand it to the mechanic so they can sign off on that major defect. So that sums up the driver hub and the dashboard. So the driver hub will show you trip sheet information, daily log, vehicle inspection reports, and the dashboard will highlight where the violations are for your driver. So I'm just going to bring it back to some questions to see if you have any questions so far with the admin part. At the end of the month, we each have to calculate our highway use tax. Will there be a report option to print off giving us total mileage in each state? Yes, you will run a mileage report through your Fleet Complete desktop, and it'll give you that information. Okay, from there we're going to go into the Trucks tab. So the Trucks tab, we aren't going to spend too much time here. This is the same information that you'll see on the Driver tab. So you will see a map to show the locations of the trucks. And down under you'll see a list. You'll see the driver that's signed into that truck. You'll see their current duty status, again, their last contact and last position, and then what's left in that driver's drive, shift, and cycle time here as well. So from there, we're going to skip right over into the Reports tab. In the Reports tab, like I just mentioned, you will have to do any mileage reporting if you want it broken down state-by-state jurisdiction. That will be done through the Fleet Complete desktop. The reporting that you can do here in BigRoad will be a driver hours and mileage report. So once you select Create a Driver Hours and Mileage Report, at any time you can go ahead and you can edit this to say whatever you'd like for the report name. You can change your start and end dates with the calendars here, and then you can select the drivers that you wish to run the report on. If you want to run it on everyone, just select this box up here, and then you'll go ahead and select Create Report. Now the report does take usually a few seconds to report. We will send you an email saying when it's ready, so if you're asking the system to gather a lot of data, it may take a little bit longer, but here you can see my report is already ready to view. What this report is showing you is a list of all the drivers that you've selected, if their employee numbers entered into the system, and when they've been deactivated if they have been, how many days they worked within that time period you selected, how many hours were driving, how many hours were on duty not driving, their total hours, and then their total mileage as well. Again, this is something that could potentially be used for payroll. You can always select View Excel Spreadsheet. That way you can save that information to your computer. You can make changes to it at any time. You can just have it there for your records. That brings us back into the Fleet tab, which sums up the whole training session for today. So I will bring it back to any questions that you guys may have.
Okay, so we'll just give it a few more minutes here. If you have any final questions, you can type them right into the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel. All right, it looks like there's no new questions. Thank you so much, Julie, and thank you guys so much for attending. Have a great day.